Tonight on KGW News, a $6 million illegal marijuana bust. A look inside the huge grow operation in Washington County. Plus,
the despair on the nurses' faces and the fatigue. It's more profound than I've ever seen.
Oregon nurses desperate for relief. The changes they say hospitals need to make to keep their staff. And Blazers accused in a fraud. How prosecutors say a current coach and former players stole from the NBA. But first, tired of crime in their neighborhood.
It's growing, and now it's affecting business more in a time where we're struggling to survive already.
Businesses work together to try to protect employees and customers. Your news starts now. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We start tonight with more neighborhood groups uniting against crime, trash, and violence. This time near Airport Way. After years of asking the city for help, business owners say the problem is only getting worse. Catherine Cook reports.
I never imagined that we would be in this position still after this long.
We first met Chris Delano 4 years ago. He runs IPD Volvo off Airport Way. In 2017, he walked us through the problem they'd already been dealing with for a year: illegal camping, trash, and crime.
Cars being broken into, glass being shattered, gas being siphoned out of gas tanks. And that's not just my business.
Delano had hoped for better days ahead.
But it's growing, and now it's affecting business more in a time where we're struggling to survive already.
You can't make them go there.
This week, business leaders from around Airport Way and Park Rose got together.
Just trying to get information out, let people know what's going on.
They shared ideas, frustrations, and horror stories, like what's been happening at this Best Western Plus.
We've comped rooms, we've had to help fix car windows, catalytic converters stolen off.
Manager Ambrosia Peterson says most recently they had to deal with this man, seen here driving over hotel landscaping. She says for weeks he harassed customers and employees. Security cameras even captured him assaulting this female shuttle driver who was just trying to keep him outside.
And he just decided to go ahead and punch me.
Jenna Castro didn't want to go on camera, but says this is just one example of a massive problem.
I want people that need help to get help. I want people to stay at a hotel and not have to worry about, somebody standing by the front door, lurking about, or whether their windshield might get smashed.
The Park Rose Business Association tells us in just the last year, owners have spent at least $300,000 dealing with this problem, whether it's on security updates, paying customers for damages, or just general cleanup. They want to see the city spending money on long-term solutions, or frankly, anything that will help them see results.
It doesn't seem like we're getting anything for the taxes that we're paying, and it doesn't feel like they're listening to anyone other than one type of individual, which are the protesters, the rioters, and feeling compassionate for the homeless. Where's the compassion for the owners of the businesses and the neighbors? There is none.
Business owners tell us they've all but given up on law enforcement.
When we call police, the response is that their hands are tied and that they really can't do anything to help the situation. So it's a bigger picture. It's got to come from the top down.
Everyone here recognizes that theirs are not the only neighborhoods dealing with this. And that, they say, is their biggest point.
Essentially, we're not addressing any of the behavior. We're just asking people just to move around, and none of it is humane.
In Northeast Portland, Catherine Cook, KGW News.
In developing news, Kelso police need your help finding this man, 34-year-old Jeremiah Matthews. He's a suspect in a homicide case. The victim was found dead along South River Road yesterday. That's near the Three Rivers Golf Course. If you have any information on Matthews, call police. Tonight, a Portland Trailblazers assistant coach is on leave. He was one of 18 former NBA players arrested on healthcare fraud charges. Milt Palacio is the assistant coach involved. You see him here behind the Blazers' new head coach, Chauncey Billups. The government says Palacio and others bilked the league's health and welfare benefit plan out of $2.5 million by filing false claims. Also among the suspects, 3 former Blazers players, including Sebastian Telfair. This is him leaving court in New York this afternoon wearing an ankle monitor. He pleaded not guilty. His former teammates Darius Miles and Reuben Patterson are also suspects.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, and it's unfortunate for the Trailblazers that they have a coach involved, but that's something the Trailblazers are going to have to deal with right now.
The Blazers wouldn't comment today, besides saying they put Milt Palacio on administrative leave. Many of Oregon's death row inmates may soon have their sentences changed to spare their lives. Today, the Oregon Supreme Court struck down the death sentence of an Oregon inmate in a major ruling. The court focused on a law passed in 2019. State lawmakers limited what crimes qualify for the death penalty. However, they didn't include a retroactive provision. Supreme Court justices overruled, stating any current death row inmates whose murders don't meet current statutory guidelines could escape death row.
The court simply said it doesn't matter when you commit your crime or when, more importantly, when you're sentenced for that crime. If you're on the list that's now been downgraded to first-degree murder, then you cannot be subject to the death penalty, even if your crime predates that change.
Now, this doesn't abolish the death penalty entirely in Oregon. Going forward, if someone commits one of those crimes that now falls under aggravated murder, they can still be eligible for it. Oregon has actually flip-flopped on the death penalty for most of the last 150 years. It's been repealed and reinstated several times, and no one has been executed since 1997. But the death penalty is written into the state's constitution, so in order to completely abolish it, a referendum would have to go to voters. New at 11, detectives busted an illegal pot grow in Washington County. And this was no small setup. Deputies seized more than $6 million worth of marijuana. Mike Benner went to check out where it was discovered.
At first glance, it looks like a normal farm out in the country, but authorities say there's nothing normal about this property off Northwest Jackson School Road in rural North Plains. In late September, the Washington County West Side Interagency Narcotics Team discovered an illegal marijuana grow operation at the 29-acre property. Video from the sheriff's office shows that the operation was run out of a 6,000-square-foot house, a 5,000-square-foot barn, and a 13,000-square-foot horse arena. Inside those buildings, investigators found and seized more than 800 pounds of dried marijuana and more than 5,700 marijuana plants. The street value, $6.5 million. Authorities also collected $500,000 in grow equipment and $22,000 in cash. All of it tucked away on what looked an awful lot like an ordinary farm.
Detectives with the Washington County Sheriff's Office declined our offer to speak about the case, citing the ongoing investigation. And speaking of that investigation, it's been forwarded to the Washington County District Attorney, who will be considering charges. Reporting in Beaverton, I'm Mike Benner for KGW News.
As the pandemic continues, nurses in this area are calling the nursing shortage in the U.S. and in Oregon historic and catastrophic. Today, the Oregon Nurses Association called on hospitals and state lawmakers to take steps toward fixing a critical staffing shortage they say has been decades in the making. They say the issue has been made worse by the pandemic, stretching an already overloaded system.
It's just compounding the work day after day after day, compounding the trauma. That's what the moral injury is that we speak of. That is what is driving nurses away from the profession that they chose and the profession that we love.
Some nurses have left over vaccine mandates, although union officials said today it's a relatively small number. The nurses we spoke to want two key issues addressed: ways to retain nurses and more support for nursing education to attract new nurses to the profession. What's most concerning, they say, right now, 60% of OHSU's nurses are considering leaving the profession entirely. And the Oregon Nurses Association says that percentage is reflected at the national and state levels, too. Children 5 to 11 could soon be able to get the Pfizer COVID vaccine. The company is asking the FDA to authorize its vaccine for children. And if approved, shots could begin in the next few weeks. Pfizer officially submitted its request for authorization this morning. Now the FDA will decide if there's enough evidence to prove the shots are safe. If the FDA approves it, The CDC will make the final decision whether to recommend it for children. Today is National Depression Screening Day, which is meant to raise awareness. During a screening, a healthcare provider will ask questions to determine if someone has symptoms. That might include withdrawing from the activities and people they once enjoyed, or a change in eating and sleeping patterns. Therapist Chelsea Meyer says one of the most important signs is a change in dialogue, like negative views on the world and feelings of hopelessness. Most of the symptoms for children are the same, and it's good for parents to speak openly about mental health with their kids.
Research is showing us that depression is increasing, particularly in young people. There is also some good research to show there's a correlation between how much social media exposure young people get and how that impacts depression or anxiety.
Meyer says there's a stigma around depression, which is a huge barrier in getting help. Parents can help break that stigma by speaking to their children about their own struggles with mental health.